Tuesday, it's 8 p.m. It's time for Super League Raw Weekly. On tonight's show, we announced the team of the week for round number 4. We'll have all the news, all the gossip and all the transfers in Banging or Hanging. Little Ollie's not happy with what happened at the BrewDog Stadium. We'll be hearing from him. We will look back at the Super League season thus far. Who has done well? Who must do better? And we preview and predict what may happen in this week's Challenge Cup 4th round. All this and more. It's time to start the show. This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD and Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. Yes, you can't beat a bit of weekly. It's 8 p.m. It's Tuesday night. There's only one thing to talk about, and that is, of course, the great game of Rugby League. We've got lots to unpack tonight. With me, as always, is Reggie. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Really well.
Indeed. And, of course, the man that is the master, the lord of the Shire that is Lee. Of course, that's Mr. Sale.
Good evening, everyone.
Indeed, sir. Hopefully the West Wing is making you comfortable this evening, sir. But anyway, great to be here. Super Chats is open, as always. Great to have your company, as always. Fantastic stuff. Wonderful. Yes, we're going to go through a lot. As the title said there, we've got Challenge Cup Round 4 to look forward to. No captain's run this week, of course. We always take a break for the Challenge Cup. We'll be back with the captain's run in a week's time when Super League returns for round number 5, which means tonight we'll talk about it here on Super League Raw Weekly. We'll talk about the fixtures and our predictions for what may happen during the course of the Challenge Cup 4th round this week. And we thought, you know what, because we're 4 rounds in, what a wonderful opportunity to have a chat about the return of Super League in 2026, the major talking points, who's doing well, who's not doing so well, who are the best players at this moment in time, and all that wonderful fare. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, if you blink, you might have missed this one.
The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Steph.
Yes, Bet Steph came in, you little beauty. Bet a captain's run. For those of you who watched the captain's run, a 4th round anytime try scorer bet. It came in for Mr. Sale, Lewis Martin, Kai Taylor-Ray in his senior. Go on, mate, bask in your glory. 9.7 to 1. You got one in round 4.
Yeah, that's not a bad effort, though. I can't remember how long it took last year, but no, round 4 for one to come in. That's It's pretty good effort. That I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Great. Steph, did you put a quid on?
No, I didn't.
I messaged him, ladies and gentlemen. I messaged him to say, "Oh, you know, how much did you lump on?" And he said none. Oh, that's comedy gold. But we do say it's the best to ignore when predicting the score. But mate, congratulations, pal. Hey, great show. And I have to say, when that came up in captain's run, I did think, you know what, that's got a bit to it. That it wasn't a bad, and yes, not the greatest odds, but yeah. Lewis Martin was due a try or two. Kai Taylor, incredible again. Great individual effort from him. And then his senior doing the job on the left edge. Wonderful. So, mate, Mr. Sale, we do take the mickey out of you when it comes to bet, Steph, but I extend my sincerest congratulations to you. Incredible.
Thank you. I'll take it.
I'm sure you will. Like I say, plenty to talk about tonight, but I'll tell you what, let's get off to a flying start. You never know what's going to happen in 2026 Super League Raw Weekly. Let's get straight to it. This is an exceptional team of the week. Enjoy this one, folks. Here we go. The Super League Raw Team of the Week is proudly sponsored by the Pentagon Motor Group. Visit their website today to find the make and model that you desire at the right price. It's the Super League Raw Team of the Week for round number 4. Here we go again, and at 1 is Toa Mataafa, who, just like a bag of Skittles, produced a multicoloured display of tries, assists, breaks and busts that almost gave your night a famous 2 points against the wire. At 2 is the everlasting gobstopper of 2026 thus far, Maker Sivo. He is lasting long on the taste buds with a second hat-trick in 2 games. Can anyone break down the big man in this form? At 3 is the hard gum himself, Tessie New, and just like the sweets keep the dentist busy, Tessie was in beast mode against Catalans, causing nothing but persistent aches and pains to the chops of the Dragons. At 4, one man's pear drop is another man's sherbet lemon. Aaron Kieran once again produced an all-round display that exploded on the taste buds, leaving the Warriors fans fizzing for more. At 5, black currant and licorice, rhubarb and custard, yes, 2 flavours are better than one just like tries. That's Connor Wynn, because he came up with 2. Hasn't he started the season in great form? At 6 is the man that, when selected, tends to be man of the match, Jack Barrowman. Watching Jack is like eating a bag of Starburst. It offers surprises, excitement, satisfaction, and very seldom is it a disappointing line. At 7 is Tyrone May, who rarely gives a Cola Cube Square performance. Oh no, Tyrone is a dolly mixture of kicks, flicks and tricks that no side can predict. Simply sensational. At 8 is the man who hits like a drumstick, leaving the opposition feeling like a squasher, Mike McMeekin. And whilst he may have struck 2 beats out of tune, the overall overture was exquisite. At 9 is perhaps one of the most potent midget gems in Super League, Danny Walker. As with most nines, what he lacks in height, he makes up for in skill, strength, agility and execution. This was another gem of a display. At 10 and on debut is David Clemmer, who must have reminded the Bulls of a chew it, talk about jaw ache, as no matter how much they tried, they couldn't chew hard enough to evaporate his Rumsey's destruction at the BrewDog Stadium. At 11 is the man who was as destructive as a licorice torpedo on the wire's right edge, Sam Stone. No defence strategy could withstand weaponry of this standard, and Sam showed his potency. At 12 is Machu Josame, who was as tricky as a Chopper Chops wrapper, as an impactful as a fizzy cola bottle. Underestimate the flavour and attractiveness of Machu and Olympic in the 2026 Super League season at your peril. And finally, at 13 is Ben Curry, who continues to be your grandma's favourite, akin to some Werther's original perhaps. Yes, Ben maintains his youthful good looks whilst producing creamy and comforting consumption on a rugby field. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your team of the week for round number 4. Yes, absolutely. Get your pick and mix out. Get your 10p mix-ups going, ladies and gentlemen. That was an exceptional team of the week, gentlemen. There you go. For me, just wonderful to see a variety of players. I mean, Matiu Jessamy, who'd have thought he'd have been a team of the week in round 4, yet there he is, incredible in the second row in defeat at Toulouse. Go on, Reggie. I do know you like a sweet or two. What did you make of that repertoire?
A great team. There's no jelly babies in there, mate, is there?
No, absolutely not.
That's a great team. You know what? I'm pleased you put Sam Stone in there because I was talking about him today to a couple of last night actually at training. He's had a really, really strong start to the season.
Yeah.
He was a little bit disappointing last year in what was a disappointing Wire side, but this season I'm really glad he's in there because he's been outstanding at the start of this season. So great to see him in there. Mickey Sevo, my word, he's carving it up, isn't he? He's a beast. He's a scary, scary man when he's at full speeds. So yeah, a great team of the week there, Dave. Well done, Mike McMeekin. Vintage, but like a good wine, seems to be getting better with age.
Yeah, he had a couple of lashes out at Fash, but with the exception of that, the highest tackler as a prop forward in round number 4, and also the highest meter maker as a prop forward. It's undeniable that Mike had to be in the front row. Steph, I mean, look, a lot of people would have put Kai Taylor-Ray in at fullback because, of course, he's the buzzword in Super League at the moment. But Tom Mata'afa in that game was absolutely different gravy. I mean, York Knights there. No wonder they wrapped him up for extending his contract. This guy, for me, is in incredible form at York.
Yeah, he's really burst onto the scene, and I think with all these 3 clubs, we're going to get players from the promoted sides that are going to jump onto the scene, aren't they? And going to really stand out. And he's definitely one, as is Jezime as well at Toulouse. So it's a pick and mix of players. Woolworths would be proud of this week, Dave.
Yeah, get your tongue away there, Steph. Steph, we know that you like a bit of meeking. Jack Farriman, gentlemen. I mean, Greg, as I said there...
Just for clarity, that's Steph in the chat, not me.
Yeah, then again, Steph, what you do on the weekend is up to you, sir. Whatever you do, whatever you say.
Just wanted that to be clarified.
I'm sure if you were face to face with Matt, you would say he was an attractive fella. But anyway, that's by the by.
Absolutely.
But Reggie, I mean, Jack Farriman, whenever Jack Farriman has played for Wigan, the amount of man of the matches he's got in those appearances is unbelievable. And again, for me, showed maturity beyond his years. That was a tough game for Wigan in Toulouse, and Jack really did step up brilliantly, deputising, of course, for Bevan at standoff.
Yeah, as people who listen to this show regularly know, I'm a massive, massive fan of Jack Farriman. I think he's an exceptional talent, as you say, Dave. And how fortunate that at a time when Wigan fans must be desperately disappointed that both Jay Field and Bevan French are going to be out for a little while, that they got somebody of the calibre of Jack Farriman to come in, and this is his chance now. And Wigan, as I've said in the past, and this is probably on the Nixon bingo sheet, Wigan do have a decision to make with Jack Farriman as to where they go with him. They risk losing him if they don't kind of give him his opportunity. He's got it now, and I think people are saying, are Wigan going to suffer? Well, they may suffer a little bit, but with Jack Farriman in there, he's an able deputy. He might not have the magic feet and the link up that French and Field have got, but he's a great player.
Do you know what? That's a great shout, Steph. Let's be crystal. Yes, Bevan out for 16 weeks. Opportunity now knocks for Jack. I mean, if Jack plays for 16 weeks, which you'd expect he will. Jack has shown against Toulouse he can step in at standoff alongside Harry Smith. So this now is a massive opportunity for a player that we've been waxing lyrical about for 3 years. And, if Jack now can really put a run on, he could be very hard to shift after 16 weeks.
Well, we always say through adversity comes opportunity, and we've been screaming for Farriman to get his chance. We were concerned, if French did stay fit and Smith, then Farriman would have another season where, he's pretty much sat in the stands. So I'm made up that he'll get his chance now, subject to form. But it's his place to keep, isn't it? He's that good of a player. He needs to be playing regular Super League, and I know we call for him maybe to go out on loan to one of the promoted sides potentially if French was fit. But it's great for him now. He's going to get his opportunity at Wigan, and he's already shown for me in abundance that he's more than capable of fitting that role.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward. And again, we'll probably when we get to banging and hanging, we'll talk maybe a little bit about injuries. But you know what? We've always glass half full here at Super League Raw. An opportunity now knocks for the likes of Jack Farriman. I think this is his moment. We've been talking about him for 3 years. He's now going to have an extended run in the side. I, for one, really looking forward to what he produces. Boys, round 4 for me was a really interesting week in terms of the quality of the tries. And, some of the players on the screen here in this team of the week produced those. Some made them, some produced those. I thought the run for Matt Arthur's run for the Denis Balnforth try against Warrington was a thing of absolute beauty, Reg. I mean, that was outstanding, wasn't it?
It was. And the thing that surprised me about York was their pace that they showed on the night. That they're no slouches. And the spirit they showed when they were 16-0 down to come back like they did. But as you say, Dave, that run, absolutely phenomenal, and deserved a try to come off the back of it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Connor Wynn as well, Steph, 4 tries for Connor already this season. He started the season well. Bad news for Bradford in terms of Wonga Blake. It looks like he's going to have an extended, he's going to be on the sideline, another injury with a shoulder injury. But Connor, gone about his business really well in the early rounds. It's a shame because that combo between, Wonga Blake and Connor Wynn has been one of the real, for me, highlights of the Bradford performances this season.
Yeah, it's been really potent, hasn't it? In the first 3 rounds. He's been brilliant when he's finished really well, and he's showed really good strength as well. They've not been easy tries for him. So yeah, it's been a great start, and it is a shame that combo is going to be disrupted for a little while. But I'm sure Connor will continue to perform for them, and he's definitely one that they've plucked out there, and is an asset to that team.
The first pint of the evening has been bought by Roll Stag. I hope he's got his glasses on, because if he's not reading that screen. Off the back of his instant reaction. But Roll Stag, well done, mate. Always appreciate that. But yeah, outstanding. And I'll tell you what, one of the players, Greg, that many people love to hate is Adam Kieran. I think Kieran started in incredible form as well. His performance against Toulouse, whether it be the boot, his all-round play. I think Kieran as all and needs to as well in the absence of Wardle, of course. But I think Kieran's really stepped up for Wigan.
Yeah, the problem with Kieran, people love to hate him because of his disciplinary record. If you can get a lid on that, he's a class player. Was it last week where he got 9 out of 9?
Yeah.
And this week, he what an asset to have to any side, somebody who can knock the goals over like that. And as we found in the past, a good goal kicker can win you a game. Adam Kieran's a great goal kicker. He's a really strong centre. Not only does he score, but he sets up a lot of tries as well. If he can keep a lid on his discipline, there's no reason why he can't be up there at the end of the season.
Big shout out there to Paul Farnell. Cheers for that. By all accounts, Wonga Blake should be back after the Challenge Cup. That's great news for Super League. Great news for Bradford. Paul, we need you a part of Super League Raw. We need you for instant reaction, mate. We need a Bradford fan. Come on, son. Become a member. It makes sense. Details on that a little bit later on. Steph, a player that won't surprise you. He's been in 2 Team of the Weeks already in 4 rounds. He's Danny Walker. We said big missing piece for Warrington in 2025. Danny started the season in great form in 2026. You're a big admirer. He's really taking full advantage of the ruck speed, isn't he?
Absolutely, and I think he's got massive motivation this year in terms of being left out of that England team. He'll want to be on that plane for the World Cup 100%, but he also will want to be getting Warrington to where they should be in the playoffs and challenging for the grand final. He's a phenomenal player. We saw the difference he made to that Warrington side when he came back last year, and he's kicked on again from that in 2026. He's right up there for me with the best hookers in Super League, and I'm sure he'll be pushing for that dream team place as well at the end of the season.
100%, mate. And here's one for you, Reggie, right? In 2024, Danny Walker made 6 tries. He's already made 4 in 2026. Of course, he was out for a lot of last season. That tells you all players look for marginal gains. That is some marginal gain. 4 rounds in, 4 assists, plays 6 assists in 2024. Like I say, this ruck speed is really benefiting Danny's game.
It is, and he's a man on a mission, isn't he? Like you say, like you've both said about him wanting to get into that England, that squad for the World Cup. The fast rucks, the fast play the balls, and he's also getting more game time as well. He's playing more game time. He's being left on the pitch a lot longer, and he's having a lot longer. He's having more time to influence the games, and he seems to be building quite a good relationship with Kai Taylor-Ray. Taylor-Ray seems to be following him a hell of a lot, so that's clearly something that the two may have discussed between them and on the training field. So it's good to see that, he identifies where the threat is. He can be a threat, but he can also identify a threat and put that threat through a nice little hole. to score the tries. So yeah, really pleased for Danny. Really glad he's finding his form again.
The best hole since a toad in the hole. There's nothing like a sausage, a bit of mash, and Yorkshire pudding. Anyway, that's by the by. And congratulations to Ben Curry, his 100th try. It took him a while to get there, but well done to Benjamin on his 100th. I know that Rebecca would have been overjoyed. Of course, Rebecca Frey, a massive Ben Curry fan who enjoyed the weekend in York. Outstanding stuff. Right, let's keep the pace going. Like I say, we'll talk about the teams in a minute, but before we do, let's get the news out of the way. Here we go. Banging or hanging? Yes, time for a little bit of banging or hanging. Let's start with Mark Percival, Greg. A year contract extension for Mark. It looked like he was exiting to Huddersfield. He's been given an extension, possibly a little bit because of how far Saints are down on troops, potentially. That might have forced Saints' hand a little bit, but there's no doubt about it. Mark Percival, on his day, still got lots to offer the Saints.
Oh God, yeah, this is banging news, especially for Mark Percival. But yeah, rumours that he'll be in for Nene McDonald this weekend. But I'm pleased. He's one of those players that you don't like seeing in the opposition side when you're playing against him. He can hurt you. He's a great goal kicker. He's a great centre. So I'm pleased that he's been given another deal at Saints, and he's got a chance to show what he can do when fully fit.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Really good news that for Mr. Percival. Steph, George Hurst, not played for the Wigan Warriors. Of course, brought in from Oldham at the start of the 2025. So he's been on loan a few times, signed by the Castleford Tigers on a permanent contract. Banging or hanging, sir?
It's banging for Cass. It's probably a good move for him as well. I know obviously he wanted to get his place at Wigan, but probably highly unlikely this season with the forwards that Wigan have got. He's definitely going to get more game time at Castleford, and it's a real good opportunity for him. He's obviously impressed while he's been there on loan for them to take him full time there. I think he's been pretty decent for Cass when he's been there, and I'm sure the Cass fans will be delighted that they get a young English forward. Banging move, I think, for all parties.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I think Casford need a bit of grunt, and it'd be interesting to see how George goes week in, week out. I mean, we haven't seen him, so that's going to be really interesting. Rebecca Frey goes in at the bar. Thank you for that, Rebecca. It was absolutely marvellous to spend Friday afternoon with you in York, and I know that you and your daughter had a great time. So thank you very much indeed, Rebecca, for the drink. All the very, very best to you. Reggie Conor-Wrench. This came out of nowhere, out of retirement. I was disappointed to see Conor retire. I mean, of course, Conor did have his injury. I mean, God, please, God, no. He's going to Huddersfield, which is, let's be fair, at the moment, forgive me, Carbon Army fans, the capital of injuries. But Conor's going to Huddersfield. Conor, on his day, for me, improves Huddersfield immensely. Conor is a quality player.
He is. There's no doubt about it. I was hugely disappointed when he decided to hang up his boots. I'm delighted. I think it's banging for Conor, and I think it's a banging move for the Giants as well. He's got a hell of a lot of pace, and he's elusive. I think this is a banging move for him and for Huddersfield.
Yeah,
delighted that he's back in Super League, even if it's not for wire.
Yeah, I mean, good luck to him. I mean, like I say, on his day, for me personally, I think Conor has got everything. I remember speaking to Petter Hiku last year when he came up against him at Warrington, and Petter Hiku was very, very gracious in his praise for Conor-Wrench. He thought he'd got a massive career ahead of him. Of course, then Conor decided to retire for reasons known only unto himself. But this is good for Super League. Conor's got a lot of quality, a lot of talent. We wish him well. Out of Catalan today, Steph, Tommy Makinson saying he's going to retire at the end of the season. I still think Tommy's got plenty to give, but hey, there you go.
Yeah, well, he went out in the wall up against Lee. So whether there's been some recurrence of injury again, I don't know. But he has been blighted by a few injuries, hasn't he, towards the back end of his career. I'm sure he could probably go again. I wouldn't be surprised if he did change his mind at Sam Tompkins. But sometimes you've got to go. Enough's enough, haven't you? And make the decision what's right for him and his family, and whether that means he stays over there in a coaching role or something, I don't know, or whether he comes back here. But one thing's for sure, he's been a superstar of Super League, hasn't he, Tommy Makinson? Some of the tries he's scored have been phenomenal and someone I've admired for a long, long time, even as an opposition fan. So yeah, it's sad, but it happens, doesn't it? We all retire at some point.
Speaking from experience, there is the sale. But anyway, Mark Williamson in the chat, York Knights fan, have one on the Applegarth Army. He said he needs to get signed up. He does. And on that token, great to meet Mark. Great to meet Joy. I hope Joy's watching tonight. Joy collared me at full time and said, "What are you going to say about York this week?" Well, you'll find out in a bit. Also, Mike, the Leeds fan, Mike, the Saints fan as well. Mike, the Saints fan, was actually a relative of Sam Wood, and he thanked us as a show for the great praise we've given Sam Wood over the years. We've been great champions of Sam. We think he's a quality player, and it's nice when family and friends who clearly have watched us throughout the years just tap us on the shoulder and say we really appreciate it. We celebrate rugby league players. That's what Super League Raw is all about. Great to meet those, and there was more besides that as well. What a place to go. Destination Rugby League. If your team is going there, get down there. Wonderful facility, wonderful people. I've got nothing but praise. There's a part of me that hopes that Warrington draw them in the Challenge Cup so I can go back. Absolutely fantastic is your many congratulations to them. Greg, we've got to go there, mate. I mean, and we know it's banging, but Barron, Host, French, English, Flanagan, the list just goes on and on. Have you ever known a season like it?
No, I can honestly say that I've known seasons where there's been a lot of injuries throughout the season, but I've never known this many injuries at the start of a season. And it's got to be concerning, hasn't it? Huddersfield, is it 16 players? Bevan French, Jay Field, superstars of the game. It's absolutely. I know. I really haven't known an injury situation as bad as this. I've known it at certain clubs. Warrington had injuries last year. Apparently, Saints had them a couple of years ago. Nobody mentioned it. French and Field have been out together on occasion in past seasons, but nothing like this. Really, it's just phenomenal. Really is. It's hanging.
It is hanging. However, in a glass half full kind of way, we're about to see tomorrow's talent today in some of these.
Well, I was just about to say, hanging for those players, but banging for the young kids who are going to get the chance.
Do you know what? That sounded wonderful. But Greg, you're having a few issues there, so we'll move on. It sounded wonderful, though. Whatever he said, I agreed.
Right, okay.
Over to you, Mr. Sale. This is an interesting one. Like-for-like attendances. You know that I'm keeping an eye on this year. So, of course, like-for-like attendances. Those that were in Super League last year, when they met each other at a particular ground last year, how do the attendances compare? We're up 3% year on year across those games. Again, good news for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the papers this week it was reported like low crowds, a low week, but when it depends what games are played in which stadium, doesn't it? It's one of those. I think Lee's attendance was over 8,000 with no away fans. That's really, really good. I think the crowds have been one of the biggest positives this year. I think there's only really Toulouse I can think of, maybe Huddersfield, obviously in their stadium, where it's not really looked that good on TV. But even then, I mean, so they're both those ones. Both those aforementioned clubs are playing in stadiums of 18 and 25,000, so you're going to look a bit more sparse, isn't it? But no, I think the crowds have been phenomenal this year, and long may it continue. Hopefully, as the season goes on, we see those increasing even more.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Great to see those. Greg, Brad Dwyer, God, it's like he's as bad as you for bingo sheets when it comes to teams. But again, there's talk that Brad Dwyer's off to Saints. I find this interesting in the fact that it's not really the position that they're struggling in. They've got Jake Burns there. They've got Darrell Clark there. For me, there's other places in the Saints team that perhaps they need immediate cover. This surprised me this week. Banging and hanging, mate.
It's going to be, I think, banging for Brad. I'm going to say it. He's had more clubs than Nick Faldo, but sick. I think that's the top line already. I mean, a great news for Brad if it's true, and maybe it's just that Super League experience that Saints are looking for, just to shore up a few things in the middle. Who knows? Paul Rowley may be a fan.
Well, one thing's for certain: if Paul wants somebody going for the glory every week, He's got the right man there. But anyway, no, I'm only joking, Brad. He's a good player, Brad, but at times he should pass when he runs. I've said that all his career.
Yeah.
I think the best season he had was at Leeds a few years back, where I thought he got the balance perfectly right. Brad Dwyer on his day is a handful, an absolute handful, but at times, very much like Tui Lolohea. Let's just go off on a tangent. What was Tui Lolohea doing this week in that game against KR? I counted 3 times he passed to thin air and it went to the ground. He's doing a chip over the top, trying to go himself. Yeah, this is a guy that should be playing sensible rugby league and galvanising the Giants. I mean, Steph, your thoughts on Law? For me, I'm scratching my head. It's a good job there's so many injuries at the Giants, because I'll be honest with you, there's a case for dropping him. There really is.
Yeah, and I think it's more. I think with Lola here, I think it's a case of overplaying. He was trying to do a lot on his own, and I can kind of sympathise with that a little bit, given Huddersfield's situation. It wasn't his best game, far from it, but I don't think it was lack of effort from him. I think it was more poor execution through overplaying and trying to win the game on his own.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Steph. I think he just overplayed.
Very well. But they can ill afford that, boys. They can ill afford that, especially with Flanagan going, wow. I mean, let's be fair. George Flanagan has been the head and shoulders their best player. More and more problems there for our friends at the Giants. But we know one thing about those Cowbell Army supporters: they'll keep turning out, because that's what they do. One of the might be down in numbers, but they're some of the most loyal supporters in the Betfred Super League. Greg, Mike Latham leaving the Lee Leopards. That's been announced in the last 12 hours or so. There have, of course, been a few rumours going around. We'll come to Steph in a minute, but your immediate reaction, banging or hanging, Mr. Latham out of the Leopards?
Well, he's obviously done a good job for Lee over the past few years, as Steph will probably attest. Steph probably knows more about it than I do, but he's clearly hanging for the club because he's been quite influential, and for whatever reason. I'm sure Steph will have more to say on that matter.
Yeah, I mean, Steph, you'll give Mike a glowing tribute, because you've been very, very impressed with the way in which he's helped to steer Leopards project over the last few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mike's a personal friend. He's not just the chairman at Leeds. He's a personal friend of mine and my family. We're very, very, very close to Mike. Absolutely devastating that for whatever reason Mike's had to leave this role for personal reasons. I think from my family, we just hope that he's okay more than anything. So that's number one. But in terms of, I mean, a lot of people won't know who Mike Latham is. A lot of people think Derek was the chairman of Lee. Derek wasn't the chairman. Mike Latham was the chairman of Lee. Mike was not only the league chairman, he was a historian. I put him up in any challenge with anybody about the history of rugby league. He what he doesn't know isn't worth knowing. And also probably one of the most respected chairmen in the rugby league fraternity. I'm speaking like he's died, but I think the impact is that big for a lot of League fans, though. In terms, an unbelievable compare. Jamie Jones Buchanan spoke about him on Sky Sports in terms of how good he is to in pre-match interviews and stuff in the corporate hospitality. He's just a gentleman and a stalwart. Spoke at my granddad's funeral. I love the guy to pieces, and I'm just like I said, we just all hope and pray that he's all right, and hopefully we'll see him soon at a match. But the good news is he's staying in a role within the club as the historian, which nobody can do that job better than him anyway. So that's the positives from a league perspective.
Yeah, well done. A great tribute. And we wish Mike nothing but the best. Another pint has come in. It's courtesy of Nige. Well done, Nige. I don't know what the queue at the bar's like, Nige, but well done for getting through. We'll enjoy that one on you. Thank you very much indeed. And then finally, Greg, we talked about it last week, the third man in debate. And lo and behold, we had 3 examples at the weekend. I went out on a limb last week and I did say, that third man in, when 2 up top, the third man going in, I'm not a fan of it. And we had 3 examples this weekend. We had the Matty English one, we had the Ed Chamberlain one. They're the 2 that really stick out in the mind. I think Jacob Oates was a little bit different in its complexity, but those 2 absolutely were third man in. and it's the reason why I don't like it. You know, we've got both. Well, Matty English, we know is going to be out as a consequence of that tackle. I thought Chamberlain was very lucky. It looked as if Chamberlain was going to have to go off, but managed to stay on the field. I think for me personally, that's vindication. That tackle for me has to be looked at. I mean, I know that they've punished it on the field, but it's just not warranted, is it?
No. Attacking the knees, the standing leg, it's got to cause injury, and does cause injury. It has to be outlawed. We saw it in the grand final a few years ago with Steph Ratchford. And again, going back to Jacob Host as well, we've seen the hip drop tackles creeping in over the past few weeks. Joffre at Lee was victim to one a couple of weeks ago, and this was one. And Jacob Host, this one broke his leg. You know, we don't need that kind of, the injury crisis is bad enough. We don't need that, need tackles kind of, whether it's intentional or not, I'm not going to say, but we can have tackles that have the potential. I've said it to injure players. So yeah, you're 100% right, Dave. That cannonball, as it used to be called, needs to be outlawed and soon.
I mean, Hull KR apologised for it, but that's all well and good. For me, it shouldn't happen in the first place. I mean, in terms of the hip drop, I think there's more complexity to a hip drop than a cannonball. I think sometimes it's like how many times do we see concussion because the player has got the head in the wrong position in a tackle? We're talking about fine margins, and I think sometimes the hip drop can be a bit more complex. Whereas the cannonball tackle for me,
I agree.
For me, I think there's less grey area. Would it be right from your perspective? I mean, I know you were one at KR stuff.
Yeah, it's a cannonball tackle. Even if you're going into a tackle as a third man, you can hit them in the hip. But the other two players have normally stood them upright. You can hit them at the midriff. If you're going in at a player's knees, then you have got a very high chance that you're going to hurt that person, especially if they can't see it coming, they can't adjust for it or whatever. The thing I was most annoyed at is that Lawton didn't get sent off for it. And we've got video refs every single game now. We've got an injured player down. He had a good few minutes to look at that in as much detail as he wanted to. There's nothing more that the match review panel will have seen that couldn't have been viewed in the ground at that moment in time. And to only get a yellow card that has potentially, put Matt English out for a season, hopefully not. Hopefully it's not as bad as that. But had the potential to do that, if not. It's a disgraceful tackle. We don't want to see that. We saw it, Steph Ratchford in the Warrington grand final, didn't we? A very, very similar one. We all know the cannonball's been outlawed for years, but Huddersfield get no reward for not reward. Reward's the wrong word. They get nothing for that as well. They get no benefit is probably in the game. How it was only a yellow, I have no idea. I think sometimes our officials are scared of making a decision, which is wrong. They should be empowered to send a player off for a tackle like that. But then we're very quick to sin bin a player for lying on and slowing the game down.
Yeah.
When you talk about injuries and stuff, this is what we should be using cards for. And for cannonballs, it should be a red card. Simple as that. But they even said, just to end it, the one that I was raging about it, they even said it was high-level force. So it's a cannonball tackle with high-level force. How is that not a red card?
It's a big question, isn't it? And I think that is the piece. It is a big, big question, and it is a debate. We were debating years ago about shoulder charges, and all the rest of it. 3 years ago, we were talking head high tackles and all what happened there. And I'm not. Again, it's mad, but there's some perfect examples this week, and I don't think any rugby league fan would say, regardless of the colour of the shirt that they support, that is a tackle that they want to see on a rugby league field. I just don't think it's necessary. I really don't. But hey, there you go. It's a personal opinion. We're all entitled to those. And like I say, the proof's in the pudding. They have been charged. I mean, there's talk about, are the charges enough? There's been people crying out this week in terms of that. Is it that Matty English could be out for a season, yet a player gets 3 games? And I get that debate, but again, there's rules, there's procedures. They've all been produced well in advance. Unless the rules of the game are changed, that they're working to the parameters that are currently in place. And I understand that. I just think this is a real debate, and I really do. And let's hope we don't see any more examples of this as we go through it.
He did get grade E though, so in previous seasons that would have been between a 5 and an 8 game ban. So because he's of the new point system and because his disciplinary record's good, that he's only got 3 games. So you've got to factor that in as well because we are play. Everyone knows those rules, but it was charged as grade E, which goes back to the point of it makes it even worse that it wasn't even a red card. How can you have a grade E? I'll probably one first one to mention it. When was the last time a player was charged with a grade E and it wasn't from a red card on the field? That'd be a good.
That's a good quiz question.
Great question. Greg Roach, filthy, didn't even call a penalty at the time. Says Greg. Look, at the end of the day, for me, as supporters of the great game of rugby league, it's a great debate. It is what it is. But yeah, there you jolly well go. There was one other thing though that happened this weekend, and little Ollie's filthy. Here he comes.
What Would Oliver Say is proudly sponsored by South Coast Lane Carpets. From shag pile to vinyl, nylon to wool, you are guaranteed to find the right fit for your home. Contact them today and tell them Oliver sent you. This is What Would Oliver Say at Super League Raw. In the game between Saints and Bradford this weekend, Joe Sharrocks appeared to come back onto the field early, after about 8.5 minutes, instead of the full 10. The RFL have since admitted there was a timing error. To be honest, it's a bit embarrassing for the competition really. The sin bin runs off the match clock and the 10 minutes actually starts when the game restarts, not when the yellow card is shown. If the clock keeps running down during stoppages, the sin bin time keeps counting down even though no rugby is actually going to be played. In the NRL, they actually show a sin bin countdown on the screen so everyone in the stadium knows when the player can come back on. Maybe that's something the Super League consider and have a look at, because if it's supposed to be 10 minutes, it should be exactly 10 minutes. What do you think, Super League Raw?
That boy, absolutely love that boy. He gets it right more often than not. I mean, look, when forgive me, all, he's either 11 or 12. I can't remember his actual age. I think he's 12. All when a 12-year-old says that's embarrassing, that's got a sting, Greg.
It has, hasn't it? Blimey, and he's not wrong, is he? It's not a good look. I think. Do you know what there was just a perfect storm of poor officiating in that game for whatever reason. We had a double movement try. We had a play coming on after 8.5 minutes after 10 minutes sin binning. We had questionable tackles, questionable cards. It just wasn't a good look. It was just one of those nights where if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. It has been, there's been an apology from the RFL, but it's quite piecemeal after the events, things like that, isn't it? Yeah, it's not a good look. And Ollie's right. It is embarrassing, really embarrassing.
Well, Kurt Hegarty, let's be absolutely crystal clear, Steph. Kurt Hegarty was filthy, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, 1.5 minutes is a long time, isn't it? It's a set of 6.
It's a good 90 seconds by all accounts.
Well, yeah, but it's a full set, isn't it? Don't get sarky with me, Mr. Kent.
Greg's gone. Sorry, mate. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that could have been an opportunity. It's such a close game as well. It was an opportunity for them, wasn't it? But I mean, everyone makes mistakes, don't they? So I think it's the 4th official who's in charge, isn't it, of any sin bins and stuff. So it's probably the first time I can remember it happening. I'll if we get it regularly, if it's as bad as the sound issues with the match officials, then I'll start I'll start questioning that with their microphones. But no, it was a one-off. Mistakes happen. I think we've got to give a bit of leniency in this instance, and I'm sure it'll be high on the agenda in the refs meeting and the 4th official for the next few games.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't great, but as always, Ollie hitting that nail right on the head. Call him Daniel LaRusso mending a fence. That boy very seldom misses when it comes to hitting a nail on the head. Speaking of which, should we get the flags out? Because, sometimes, always reward the behaviour that you want. Andy Bibby has actually come up with a cracker. Go on, Andy, lad. Something radical. Why not allow a player who goes clean for 80 minutes in a game to have half a point removed as reward? Well, I tell you what. There's been worse suggestions over the last 4 weeks from Andy. I've got to give him his due on that. What's your thoughts on that, Reg? Good behaviour gets you half a point off after a game.
I'd never even thought of anything like that. I don't know, it's taken me completely by surprise.
The fact that you come from Andy. Only joking, Andy, mate. Go on, have a smile. Go on, Reg.
Maybe not one game, but maybe a number of games on the bounce that gets your disciplinary, gradually wipes your record clean. Yeah, maybe not one game. Maybe one game's a little bit keen, but there's no reason why 2 or 3 games without any misdemeanors can't be rewarded.
Your thoughts on that, Mr. Sale?
To quote Roy Keane, it's the job. It's the job to. It's the job to be clean and not take someone's head off. A ridiculous rewarding someone for playing the game how you should be playing.
Hey, it's not the worst idea that Andy's come up with in the last.
I'll grant that one, but yeah, no, not for me. Just don't take anyone's head off in the first place, and don't get any disciplinary points.
Fair enough. Happy days. Right, okay. Banging and hanging done. Ollie's been and done. We've done Team in a Week. Great Team in a Week. If you missed Team in a Week, if you come in late, you've got to go and watch that. It's an absolute swizzle of a job, I'll tell you. It's a belter this week. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Right, let's get into the. Let's just get into. We're having a break from Super League. We're 4 rounds in, and I think it's fair to say we're starting to get a feel now. We mentioned in the opening piece in Banging and Hanging as well, in terms of opportunity knocks here a little bit for some youngsters in terms of some of the injuries that are floating about. We should bear that in mind as we're having this discussion. But let's do a whistle-stop tour of the teams thus far. We'll start at the bottom of the table and work our way up. Huddersfield Giants, bottom of the table, lost all 4 games, conceded 110 points, only scored 40. I mean, yes, injuries absolutely are playing a part, and we all said if Huddersfield got a good win behind them, they should be competitive in 6. Lo and behold, here we go again. Your thoughts on Huddersfield? Because what's your thoughts? I mean, injuries aside, are they showing enough heart and desire for you? What's your view?
Oh, they struggled last season as well, didn't they? I think there's issues there, if I'm being perfectly honest. I know we've got a lot of good friends who are Giants fans, and Giants are one of those teams that I've got quite a lot of fondness for. But I think at some point something has to change there. I think maybe Robinson has got a bit of a stay of execution because he's got 3 tough games coming up, which maybe even if they had no injuries and they were playing quite well, they might struggle to win. I think they've got KR and they've got Wigan, I think, in the next 2 games. Is that right? Yeah. KR in the cup and Wigan in the league. So, that they might not have been expected to win. But I think, I think something has to change there. They've struggled for a few seasons now. Injuries or not, they have been very, very disappointing, especially at the start of this season.
Steph, I hate to do this to the Cowbell Army.
Yeah.
They've scored 40 points and 28 of them have come from Flanagan.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? It's not good. And obviously we all know that they've been decimated on there with it. It's not even funny, is it? In terms, you can't even take the mick and say, it's same old Huddersfield kind of thing at the moment. I'm convinced that a fully fit Huddersfield squad would have at least had 2 points on the board now, at least. I feel really sorry for Luke. I feel really sorry for the Huddersfield fans because you can probably accept it and make changes if it's because the team's not trying, or the coach isn't performing or whatever, and it's not coming up with excuses. The injury thing, it's just fact, isn't it? I don't think any club in Super League would be able to compete with what Huddersfield have dealt with over the past season and a quarter. Hopefully they can start to get some back, but it just seems just one after another, and like you alluded to earlier, I just want to pay credit to the Huddersfield fans for sticking with them. There's lots of clubs supporters that would be booing their team off every week. I've not heard any boos from Huddersfield fans.
No.
And I think that's probably the biggest compliment I can make to them. And they may be small in numbers, but they're mighty in support. And I just hope that they get a bit more luck in the next few weeks.
Well, I mean, I think what I'd say about the numbers is if you're, how many teams in Super League, if they'd have had the run of unsuccess as Huddersfield has had over the years, would they still be attracting the crowds that they do? It's very easy to celebrate, big crowds when people are winning or competitive. The real test of support is, are you there in the dark days? And Greg, we know them in abundance. But no, I mean, look, it's a big problem. Huddersfield, for me, at this moment in time, understand why, but way below where I expected him to be, and that's down to injuries. And like I say, the biggest problem that they've got, and it's a massive problem, when 28 of your points is about to be sat in the standout of 40, you've got real problems on the horizon, and that's a big problem. Just goes to show what a great player young George is, and we wish him well, and we hope he's back on the field as quickly as possible. Let's move on then to places 13 and 12, and some people had these in the grand final. Some people had these winning Super League. You just wouldn't believe it. 4 rounds in. Let's go Leopards first, Greg. Leopards, one win in 4, 60 points scored, 110 conceded. Again, injuries have played a part. I get that.
Yeah,
not to the extent of Huddersfield. We've got to pay Huddersfield that bit of respite, but nobody would have thought this from the Leopards. It's been a slow start. The new signings haven't really kicked in just yet for them. Your thoughts on Lee, mate? 4 rounds in.
Yeah, I think Lee fans will be disappointed with the start they've made, as you say, injuries. But I think whereas as Huddersfield, for a number of seasons have flattered to deceive, and I've been down there. I think Lee will come good eventually. I'm not saying that because Steph's sat the other side of you, Dave, but I think they've had a couple of tough games, and I think a couple of seasons ago, if I'm not wrong, they lost at home to Huddersfield first game of the season, and they really struggled to get some traction, and then came good, kind of after Easter. So while it's disappointing for Lee fans, I'm not as worried as I would be if I was a Giants fan at this moment in time.
Oh, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. And we'll get onto the Challenge Cup in a minute. I mean, 2 teams that have been severely hit by injuries, and probably are pretty similar actually going into that Challenge Cup game at the weekend. Not bad. I mean, Lee would hope to get through that and give themselves, keep the Challenge Cup dream alive. Again, we know what your relationship with that cup step is. But back to Super League, your next 5 fixtures, you've got Wakey away, Toulouse at home, Warrington away, York away, and then the Giants at home. So, you probably say with the exception of the Giants who are beneath you, that's a tricky set of fixtures, certainly the way Toulouse have started the season as well. You'll be as disappointed as anyone. I know you're going to be measured, and nothing's won in or lost in March. But with I would say success. Lee have been a very good story over the last few years. Challenge Cup win and your progressive improvements in the league. Cook came in on a fanfare, not really at his straps yet. Alec, being compared to Ethan O'Neill, and people having the view on that. And sometimes it takes longer. All that considered, what as a passionate Lee fan, your thoughts?
Well, I think when the fixtures came out, I thought to myself I'd be happy if we got 4 points from the first 4 games. That would have been reasonable. I think there's got to be a bit of context here in terms of who Lee have played. They've had Leeds at home, St Helens away, Wigan away, and then Catalan at home, and given Catalan have definitely improved from last season, it's almighty. I think Lee had the toughest opening 5 games apart from York. I think everyone agreed on that beforehand. And just to put a bit of, obviously it's disappointing as a Lee fan to be sat second bottom given our recent thing, but it is only 4 rounds in. And to put it into a bit of context, which will hopefully make Lee fans think a little bit in this one, because I know a lot of Lee fans have been very judgmental. 2 tries, Lee are sat in 4th place, given the teams we played as well. 2 tries. Take the Wigan hammering out of it.
I agree.
We're talking 2. That's the difference. So, and then you throw into it the injuries that Lee have got. Take out Edwin Ipape, Joe Fangwe, no David Armstrong, no Maya Hanley. These are all strike players. If we have those 4 in, we beat St Helens easily, and we beat Catalans easily. I'm convinced of that. We were, and people say, "Oh, you beat Saints easily." We were 8 points up in that second half. Without our strike players. So I'm not concerned at this moment in time, and I hope everyone does rightly off because that's happened for the last 3 years, and look what's happened. So that's all I'll say on that one.
I think what you've said is spot on. In fact, that you set the Wigan game out, you've been competitive in the other 2 losses. Absolutely, completely agree. It comes back to what we were saying before. A ball was passed in anger. You went into the season a forward like Adrian Lamb in the opening when I interviewed him. Pretty much said exactly the same, and unfortunately now injuries have really kicked in, like say the strike players, etc. Will Lee improve as the season goes on? 100%, but very, very surprising to see where they've gone thus far. They're going to need to get a wriggle on, and I think the next 3 Super League games are big games because it's all well and good, Greg, you saying that Lee will come good. There comes a point where you go and I think was it last year, the year before, where your run was right at the death, Steph, and you did get in there, didn't you? But you can't rest on your laurels like that every year. You've got to be thereabouts. You can't lose too much ground.
Also, the quality's gone up. The quality's gone up as well. When no one would have, well, no one definitely foreseen all 3 sides coming up and doing so well as well, which I think will actually work in Lee's favour, given the poorer start than they would have hoped for, because those teams have took points off other clubs as well. We've got to play those teams yet. But it's very easy in sport to get disheartened and think but when you actually look at things with actually a bit of perspective, and I hope that 2 try thing resonates with a few, especially Lee fans. But also some doubters in Super League as well. That's the difference at the moment after 4 rounds between second bottom and 4th place. 2 tries.
Absolutely. Carrie, the Lafer, good to see you, Carrie. Great spreadsheets as well. Not concerned either. 3 weeks, we get Yamala, Joffa and everyone back, and that'll make a big difference. Absolutely. Look, nobody's writing Lee off, but nobody would have put them 13th in the table after 4 rounds. Nobody. Before we actually go to the Robins who are 13th, I want to jump to 11 because, of course, we'll get to the Challenge Cup, but just why it's in my head, Greg.
Yeah.
This weekend's game between FC and Lee is really interesting, not just in terms of who progresses in the Challenge Cup, but we're going to see which of these 2 teams are going to cope better in the adversity that are the injuries that they've got. Because both have got good injury, a really good injury count, unfortunately. So we're going to see in this game. For me, the narrative's not just the Challenge Cup this weekend; it's which of these 2 sides are equipped to go through this period of adversity. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is. And maybe taking the pressure off. I know we all want to go to Wembley. All our teams want all our teams to go to Wembley. We'd love Challenge Cup glory. It's one of 3 trophies available to us. But maybe this week for those teams that have been hit by injuries, this is a good week. And maybe, to reset and Lee against Hull, they've both been hit by injuries. Yes, you'd be crushed. You'd be disappointed as a fan and as a club to go out the Challenge Cup. But maybe it's come at a good point for these teams who've got injuries. Players are not fighting for league points and not fighting for the playoffs. So maybe in a strange, perverse kind of way, this round of the Challenge Cup has come at a good time for these clubs that are struggling with injuries. I don't know what Steph thinks of that, but at the end of the day, we all want to get to that grand final. We all want to finish top 6 because that's where the financial rewards are. So for me, yes, everybody wants a trip to Wembley. Everyone wants to get their hand on that Challenge Cup final, on that Challenge Cup. But at a time when you're struggling with injuries and you're struggling for form, it's more of a chance to get the processes going, to get a bit of shape going. And win or lose, it's a chance to see what players can do that have been brought in to replace those injured players, maybe.
Maybe it's going to be fascinating for that reason. We'll get to that in a few moments. 12, I mean, who'd have thought the Robins would have been 12? Great win for York. We'll get to York in a minute, of course. Got right back on that. We destroyed against Leeds, but we spoke last week about all the reasons around that. Steph, Lawton aside and all the rest, it was a very, very strong performance against Huddersfield. They'd have been very disappointed had they have not won that game as convincingly as they did. We've got to remember this is quadruple. And people, again, I'll just state this: where are all the 4 trophies? They're in the Hull KR cabinet. They've got 4 trophies. That's 4. That's a quadruple. Yes, it's not a calendar one. It's still a quadruple, folks, right? If they've got any ambitions, well, they have got ambitions, what we're talking about, but they need, as a quadruple winning side, they needed to go to Huddersfield, smell blood, get back on the horse quickly. They did exactly that. And of all those teams at the moment that are at bottom, they haven't got as many injury concerns. And I would expect the Robins to be rising swiftly in the next 5 to 6 weeks.
Definitely, but I still think they were clunky against Huddersfield. I don't think they were ruthless. But I'm going to give them a bit of slack, in terms of the agenda they've had, for the past few weeks, the travel that they've had to do, the emotions. It's not even questionable that they're going to be in the top 2 for me. They've also lost the fullback as well. I think Jack Broadbent looked off by his standards in Huddersfield. I don't know whether I don't know what that's about, but he's an 8 out of 10 every time he's played for KR. So, but I think you can put that against the rest of the team. I think they were just a bit. They did enough. They did enough to beat that Huddersfield side and beat them well. But it's nowhere near where they want to be. But that will start to slowly build now as the weeks go on. Like you said, Dave, they'll rapidly ascend. They need a home game, I think. I think they're away. They've got Huddersfield away. Then I think they go to Catalan or Toulouse. They're definitely in France before they're even at home for the first game of the season. So I think that'll be the big one for them when they get back to Craven Park. They'll get the fans behind them there, and I think they'll really start to kick on from that first game at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. One team I'm not worried about is Hull KR. Now, in terms of Hull FC, again, injuries ravaged to key players, Greg. And I had FC outside of the top 6 this year. I just didn't feel they could go again. Davy Litton at the weekend, boy. There's a case in point. Let's just talk about that for a minute. Was you as amazed as me that they didn't drop Hardaker back to fullback at half time and put Litton in the centre to set the heat off him? Because Litton had an absolute shocker in the first half. I mean, again, people used to say about Ian Watson at Huddersfield, there was never a plan B. It was what it was. Surely, you're watching that. We're watching that as supporters. You go, Davey, mate, get yourself back into centre. Get your going back with Lewis Martin and Zach, mate, with the greatest respect. Go and show Davey how to catch a ball.
Yeah. I couldn't. There's nothing else I can add to that, Dave. It seemed the logical choice. It seemed a sensible choice. I don't know why it wasn't done. But yeah, Hull, they were an enigma last season, and they turned out to be a bit of an enigma this season. The home form, early doors last season let them down very, very badly. They also struggled with injuries last season. We talk about Huddersfield last season. Hull had a lot of injuries as well early doors last season. That kind of haunted them through and cost them in the end. I think I had them just outside the top 6 as well. I think they've improved as a squad. They've lost a couple of players. I think looking at it sensibly over the last few seasons, you tend to think that Hull were par for the course at this stage of the season, if not slightly above par from where they were last season.
And they got off to a flyer, if you remember, last year.
Yeah. So maybe they're just... It was the home form last season that let them down. So I'd say par for the course, given the disruption they've had with injuries, given that the players walked out on them. So yeah, and again, dude, is it just the Hull fans that expect them to be top six? Did the fans of any other team expect them to be breaking into the top six? If they're being honest, I don't think so.
Well, I think the interesting thing about Hull FC, and again, they've got to manage him correctly, but I thought they looked again a better proposition with Asiata at the weekend, Steph. It wasn't quite enough. I mean, that was two teams, Wakefield and Hull FC, that were more intent on not losing than winning. I mean, it wasn't a fair. I mean, we enjoy any game of rugby league. We buy into that narrative. We could see what was being played out. Two teams just not wanting to lose, and that, for a purist, that's entertaining in itself to a degree. But Asiata back, first game back. Both sides of the ball, defence and attack. If they can keep him fit, that's going to be massive for him, isn't it?
Yes, and I think him getting a run of games as well and getting him up to speed, that's the other one with Asiata, because I don't think he looked fully fit yet to me, which he's not going to after the period he's had on the sidelines. But he makes a huge difference, just like Mr. Scholes does to our panel. You're on mute, Dave.
Royalty from the Shire of Huddersfield has just joined us, Mr. Scholes. Now, of course, for the members, we know that Joel at this moment in time has got, he's been missing, but for the right reasons. Everybody's wondering, mate, how's your dad? Is he well?
He's not so good. That's why I've been quite late. I've been there since 5. He's very, very poorly at the moment, but I just want to say, if you don't mind, for this opportunity to say thank you to absolutely everybody that sent messages. I can't tell you enough how much it does mean to me and my family. And I've passed it on to my dad, and the smile that he puts on his face is worth far more than any money could ever possibly give. So thank you so much.
Not at all, mate. Not at all. Give him our love and best wishes. And actually, just to make you feel better, we've done Huddersfield. Right, let's move on. Don't joke on your copy, mate. Let's move on to the Castleford Tigers. And actually, Joel, as you're a big Tiger supporter, we'll start with you whilst you've joined us, mate. We're going through rounds 1 to 4. An initial reaction to the season thus far. Castleford 1 win from 4, 66 points scored, 80 against. They too have had big injuries. Blake Taff out for the season. Fletcher Rooney's now gone down. The list goes on and on and on at Castleford. The squad wasn't the biggest. He brought George Hurst in to bolster the pack today, as it were. Your initial thoughts on the Tigers thus far this year, Joel?
I've got to be honest. I didn't expect much from them anyway. I did say that, and we can laugh and joke as much as we want, but we've got to say it as we see it. And I think it's very unfortunate for them that they've had the injuries they've had, but they have got no injuries nowhere near as bad as we've got. We're now 16 players out of our first team, our first team squad, and I think that is a record of anybody. So if that can't be an excuse that Castleford use, we haven't won a match, and I'm going to go as far to say if we carry on, we will not win a game all season.
Wow, well, if that's the case, mate, we've got a big discussion at the end of the season in terms of Huddersfield's viability for Super League. I hope you're wrong when you say that, but it's interesting that a Huddersfield.
I wish I was on when you were talking about Huddersfield, because I am now scathing about the Giants, and not just the squad, the whole club.
Wow. Well,
just what we say, Dave. I think.
Yeah.
Do you want him to go on his rant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, get your beers out. This is going to be entertaining. Joel, over to you.
So, if we're going to talk about this Giants Unleashed, and I do know that there are ones of the Huddersfield Giants club that watch this, and I say this with every fibre in me that I love the club to absolute death. I bleed claret and gold. But we've got to start seeing some changes, and I'm not talking about the coaching staff. I'm not talking about the squad. I'm talking about the whole club. If we have any ambitions at all of wanting to be in this grand final in the next 3 years, which I think is a wonderful statement to make, we become a laughing stock when we're playing and putting out performances like we have. To give that many 6 agains away, to give that many penalties, to be so soft in defence, not putting in the effort like some players have. And I've got to give it to Tom Burgess, George King. There's been some real players that have put in an effort and a shift. But unless every single player, every 13 player that's on that field doesn't put in the same amount of effort, you might as well not show up and stay at home and have a cup of tea. Because right now, what we're putting out is not even championship standard, let alone anything else. They need to have a really good look at themselves from the very top, from Ken right down to the people that, clean the kits. We need a complete overhaul, and I think that they need to seriously think about themselves, because we have become the laughingstock of rugby league. And I'm almost ashamed to say that I'm a Giants supporter. So I think what needs to happen now is, it's all right talking, action must happen. They did put out a thing today saying about all the injuries that we've got and when the likelihood of them coming back. I thought that was a good touch. That's something that Huddersfield haven't done for a very long time. But what I'd like to see, and I'm hoping that people from the Huddersfield Giants are listening, that's great for you telling us that, and we appreciate that. But what's the plan moving forward? Are we going to be signing some players that aren't going to be injured? Can we buy people out of the contracts to get rid of them? We no longer can have these injury crisis problems. Ken is doing a great job trying to get this new training facility in, but we don't have that training facility yet. Why are we still training on the pitch that's making us so injured? I could go on and on and on. People keep picking at Robbo. Forget Robbo. I think Robbo could be the right coach, but unless he's got the team that he needs, and he has unfortunately inherited the squad from Ian Watson as well, but still trying to filter some of them out, at what point is it not just Robbo's issue? Because people are too quick to jump on the coaches, and I think that's very unfair, because Luke really wants to win.
Well, there's a bit of passion for you folks. Not for me to comment. I will leave that to you and your Giants supporters, mate.
But Joel, what do you really think?
Yeah, well, I think he's done that. But that was absolutely marvellous, Joe. Well done, mate. Outstanding as Steph returns. Right. Tigers, we've done. I think for me, the Tigers at the moment, I tell you what, I thought Babalaw's try was nice though. Got to give him his due. But that first try for the Tigers at the weekend, nice. Very nice. And to be fair, before the weekend, the Tigers were actually doing all right in attack. But that sorted itself out a little bit. And I think that, I think we bet with Simo still looking pretty good. Knights, York Knights, ninth in Super League. I mean, do you know what? At this moment in time, they are the third of the promoted sides in terms of the league table. Greg, I'll start with you on this. But you know what? With every passing week, I'm getting a little bit what could happen here at York Knights. I was even more taken at the weekend having been there. But they have got some real pace in the back. They've got some big units in the front. They just seem to have a real nice mix of youth and experience. And when you look at their complete roster, they've got depth as well, because of course they're utilising their relationship with Newcastle in terms of shuffling the pack week on week in terms of salary cap, being very clever where that's concerned, but that's for a whole new different show. I think the Knights could go very, very well. I think Mark Applegarth's doing a great job.
A fantastic job. And you kind of, in your description of them there, you kind of summed up what I said about Bradford Bulls in one of the pre-season shows. That I thought Bradford Bulls had a good mix of experience and youth. York Knights have as well, and York Knights for me are a real surprise package. They gave Warrington a real scare on Friday night. They've turned over KR. The problem is they can't win at home at this moment in time. Once they start winning at home,
they won one of the games at home against KR.
Oh, sorry, yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah, sorry. Sorry, yeah. So apart from that first game, they've struggled since then at home.
They've only played Warrington since then at home.
Say again?
They've only played Warrington since then at home.
Have they?
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Anyway, see you later, Reg. Anyways, but happy days.
Take the tablets and go to bed.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
Bradford Bulls are doing.
Yeah. But I mean, look. I think for me, credit where credit is due for York. I think York at the moment have been an absolute breath of fresh air. I really do. I'm loving what they're doing both on and off the field. Lovely people down there. Hello again to Joy and all the guys down there. As Craig Forth says, get the beers in, lads. Well done, Forthy lad. You know it makes sense. Well done, you. Outstanding. The bar is open. If you're not a member, but you want to support us and buy us a beer. Nice a bit. But
Or a coffee.
Or a coffee. But hopefully become a member because the benefits are incredible. And if you're a Bradford fan, if you're a York fan, we need representation on Final Hooter and on our shows. So please do consider becoming a part of it. All the details you need are on screen. If you're listening on the podcast, www.superleagueraw.com, get yourselves over there. Right. In the interest of time, I think we'd all concur. Absolutely banging what Mark Applegarthy's doing down there at York, and they've been a breath of fresh air. Very competitive with the exception of that Leeds game. But apart from that, they have been incredibly competitive. We then come to the Dragons in 8th, who, do you know what? Steph, I'll come to you. Game 1 against Huddersfield. We felt that the spine looked good of Castellan, and then they just flattered to deceive again for 2 games. But then this weekend against you guys, Sexton, Dodd, Staines, it looks something like again. I mean, you saw them at close quarters. The longer the seasons go on, if they can keep the spine fit, I know they were without Garcia. But did you see enough to suggest they will be in and around the playoffs this year?
I'm not convinced yet. I don't think the spine's their issue. But they played well against Lee. They did, but I think Lee beat themselves rather than Catalans beat Lee. If that makes sense. It was a good win against Huddersfield that first game. They did look all right there, but there's still a way to come. But again, there's a lot of new players, isn't there, at Catalan? It's a team that will get better as the season goes on. And we all know how hard it is to go over there, especially when the weather gets warmer as well. And Toulouse will have that benefit as well. But I think they're better than last year, definitely. Whether that's enough to get them near the playoffs, I'm not sure. I've got them 8th and 9th, I think, for me at the moment. But we'll see. I'll reserve judgment on Catalan for a couple of months yet.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you say the spine isn't the problem. I think the spine is their opportunity. If that spine can stay fit, I think I thought Sexton looked very good. I think Dodd has really impressed me since coming back to Super League. The fact that his game seems to have matured. He might not have got many games down in Australia, but I think as a 7, he would appear to have grown.
Centres is the worry for Catalan.
Yeah, again, Fatapi's not been bad. He's not been bad.
He's not been bad, but he's also not been outstanding. And then that's one. Where's the other one?
Yeah. I get that.
That's this. You've got to have in Super League. We all know you've got to have a dominant pack and you've got to have strike out wide. And that's what makes your spine players look good as well when they can feed those types of players. Look at Sevo at Leeds, for example. That's they're 80% there, Catalan. I think for me, they need to be another 10% to get to playoffs.
I think they'll be better, as you say. I think they'll do better than last year. Joel, Toulouse, another team that has been it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, as much as the score on Sunday against Wigan was a reasonable score. I mean, let's be fair, Wigan did well there. Nobody's going to argue with that. They didn't go away. York didn't go away against Warrington. I think the fighting spirit of these promoted teams has been one of the highlights of the first 4 rounds, that they just don't know the beat. They just keep coming and coming and coming, which is fantastic. But Toulouse, for me, at the start of the season, we didn't really know much about some of these players. We felt that they would finish bottom. A few of us did anyway. But actually, 4 games in, only a -18 in the for and against. Ashel Bott has been superb. We had Jezemy in the team of the week this week. Balmas has been in the team of the week already this week, this year. Your thoughts on Toulouse, mate? Are you surprised by them? And your thoughts overall?
Very much so, yeah. Dave, I've got to say, I thought Toulouse was going to struggle even having Tyler Dupree. The fact that they've put such an effort in without him, it's been nothing but sensational. I think that if if anybody was to ask any member of Toulouse if we could stop the season now, would you? I think they would. And if
I remember that phrase, Reg. Stop the season now!
Not quite there yet.
And yeah, that was a nod to a couple of years ago. For those who haven't watched Super League Raw for that long, you must go back and watch some earlier episodes.
The season where Dowell Powell went 8 from 8, we were stopping the season every week. But anyway, that's
absolutely. And do you know what? I think that Toulouse are doing everything right. You know, even if they were to go ahead and maybe lose now nearly every game for the rest of the season, I think they would class it as a bit of a win. And I'm not being disrespectful in any way to them. It's just that you looked at the squad and you kind of look at the names and think, who are some of these blokes? But we did say, didn't we, in the start of the season preview, you know, this could be a team that's either going to really flop or going to do something special. And though they may not have the big names, they're going to play as a team together, and that's exactly what they've done. And they've been putting some efforts in. I've got to say, I'm scared to play them because I feel like we're going to get absolutely smashed because they're doing everything that they should do. And you know what, fair play to them. If they want to stay in Super League, carry on. Whatever you're doing, those at Toulouse, carry on. And it's similar with York, isn't it? They've got the right culture.
Oh, culture! I think culturally, a sterling job, absolutely. But I think the interesting thing here, Ed, you're right. We get into the detail. We know we get into the detail here at Super League. Well, the thing about Toulouse, right? They have made the 5th highest meters in Super League, right? These are the facts of the matter. They made the 4th highest tackle busts in Super League in the first 4 rounds. They are sitting 3rd for clean breaks in Super League in this season. It's absolutely, they're 3 big KPIs in any shape or form, and from an attacking sense, Toulouse are on it. They've been very, very impressive.
They certainly have, and it's clear that they've gone away and they've learned from their experience a couple of years ago. And that's the mark of a good club side, a good team that and good management. That you suffer a setback, you go away, you learn from it. Lee have done it, Hull KR have done it, and with KPIs like that, it's a wonder they're not higher.
Yeah,
they're not higher in Super League, but yeah, all hats off to Toulouse because they were the whipping boys a couple of years ago, and thank God for them. They saved Warrington from a very dire fate. But for one, I'm absolutely delighted that Toulouse and the other 3 teams are doing so well.
Yeah, and of course, it's in the chat there. Toulouse, of course, are not playing in the Challenge Cup, so they get a week off to let the wounds. And I think finally, Steph, where Toulouse are concerned, I think the fact that they managed to retain Sylvain Hules, who was, of course, in Super League a few years back, they retained him. He's been a massive part of their development in the Championship, and the fact that he's been here, done it, got the T-shirt, that consistency in the coaching for me probably is also paying dividends, isn't it?
Yeah, it's consistency, it's trust. He's been at Toulouse, I think, 13 seasons now. He's probably one of the longest-serving coaches in the game at the moment. But I think all those indicators are just the style of play that Toulouse are playing. It's the way we want rugby to be played. They've got a very good offload game, which is stressing defences. And that's why all those attacking stats are so good for them. If they can get a little bit better in defence, then they could very easily be a top 6 side, which is crazy to say, isn't it? A lot of people had Toulouse bottom. Not me. I didn't. I didn't. I had York bottom though, so it shows what I know.
I did.
But no, I'm convinced they're having their team meetings in the Melting Pot pub. If you know, you know. But no, they look like a side that are enjoying playing together, and that's always a dangerous for any opposition. If they look like they're having fun, if they're offloading for fun, then that normally indicates a very good and content camp. And if that continues, and like I just alluded to earlier, as the summer months roll in and you're playing in 36, 38, 40-degree temperatures, that's going to be a massive advantage for Toulouse as well. I think when they were last in Super League,
plus the travel.
Plus the travel, yeah. And I think when they were last in Super League, they got 6 wins at home, something like that. Yeah. So, and I think they probably got a better team. But I know they've got a better team than what they had the last time they were in Super League. So that should be a warning shot for anybody going over there this season.
Couldn't agree with you more. Let's move on to Wakefield Trinity. And of course, they are in 6th. They finished in 6th last year. So it's like for like. Darryl Powell has been very quick to say we were 2 from 4 at this stage last season. I think the best way of describing this one, Joel, is expectation. I think because Trinity did so well last year, there was an expectation. I thought they recruited really, really well. And it's not that they've been playing bad. I mean, in one of the games that they lost, of course, was Warrington. And I felt they had been a really strong second half. It's not that they've been way off. It's just been, to quote Steph a moment ago in terms of Catalan, they've just been a bit clunky, just not looked quite right. But they still sit in 6th. Your thoughts on Wakefield Trinity early doors, mate?
Yeah, so they're about where they should be. You're right, Dave. 100%. It is expectation. When a club gets promoted and they play like they did last season, you would expect them to at least be the same, if not a slightly bit better. And yes, they have got a better squad. Look at the players that they've got in, and that they're still playing a good brand of rugby. I think clunky is a good description of them, but that's also comes with the remit of having a lot of new players in your squad, and it does take up to around 10 to 12, 14, where you really start seeing the better teams in the competition playing some good rugby. And I know that then comes into around about summertime. The thing with Wakefield is there is a part of it that you think, okay, they did that well last year. Are they going to tail off this year? Was it just a bit of an enigma? And I think they're proving some of the doubters wrong. So that's why I say they're probably where they should be. I think for those who are a part of Wakefield, especially the fans, they are going to want to see him kick on a little bit this year, because clearly they've put some money. He's put some he's mat into it. Yeah, he's put his hands deep in his pockets, and he's got some real good talent there. Now Wakefield need to carry on, and you would want them to be like Leaded, similar blueprint, be in and around, if not in the playoffs, each and every single year. And I think if they can push on with that and keep going in the trajectory they're going, there's going to be nothing but great things at Wakefield.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned for Wakefield this early doors. I mean, Tyson's movie's still got to find his feet. I think, and like Greg, Max Jowett, I mean, last year Max Jowett got off to a flyer. He's played 3 out of the 4 games. He's not been as potent in terms of tries and assists as he was in the early round, like last season, of course, how he went this season. I think there's enough quality there. Lino's been missing as well. But in saying that, I've got a rumour has it Alex Sharp's at the bar. AD's just ahead of him by all accounts, I'm led to believe. Don't know how true that is. I've just got a message that Alex and AD are fighting at the bar for a beer for us. But that's we'll see if that comes true. But I have to say,
don't need any more beers.
On behalf of Alex, credit to Jack Sinfield. He's had a good start at Wakey. I've got to give him his due.
And seeing him in the flesh against Warrington a couple of weeks ago, some of his kicking game was superb. He created.
I didn't realise you got a tour of the dressing rooms at full time, mate. That's interesting.
I get where gas can't, mate. You do know that.
That's a different type of tackle. Let's move on. Come on. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
No, I agree. Sinfield has been superb. I agree with what you say about Smoothie for a grand final winner down under. He hasn't quite hit his straps yet, and I thought against Warrington, having seen Wakefield up close, that they played better when Smoothie went off. So Max Jowett, he'll come good. And as Joel says, I think they're par for the course at this point. Like Hull, I think they're round about where people expected them to be. They're a bit clunky. Once they click, they'll win more than they lose.
We'll move on. We'll bring Steph in with the Bradford Bulls. Steph, the Bulls, mate. I mean, look, we wish them well in terms of injuries. Bradford at the moment seem to be on the outskirts of the nonsense that's going on where injuries are concerned. But again, Kurt Haggerty he's made some very astute signings, and all of those signings, Ryan Sutton, Joe Mellor has been just go on, lad. I mean, he was in our team in a month, wasn't he? What a start to the season Joe's had. Ackers looks better than he did at Leeds early doors. You know, he started well. So at the moment, those players that he brought in to make a difference are making a difference. And some of the, you know, the other players, the likes of Wonga Blake, who has just started the season, our player of the month for February. You'd have thought that at the start of the season. There's a lot to be happy about with Bradford if they can stay fit, and that's going to be the ultimate for all of these promoted sides. But again, you go back to what you said about Lee. You know, with the exception of a couple of tries, where could Lee be? Bradford could have easily won at the weekend. You know, Bradford could be sitting at this moment in time above Saints. I mean, it's phenomenal, isn't it? What they brought in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah, and it's if woulda, coulda, maybe, isn't it? You know, with everything, especially in the early rounds. Like I say, unless teams are getting tonked by 50 every week, you can't really read too much into it. Just on the Wakefield one very quick point. I think Truman's been better than Sinfield, by the way, for Wakefield in the halves.
Well, he has, but he's been right the way through. But I think Sinfield deputising for Lino has probably surprised us all. That'd be fair.
He's done really well. He has done really well. But I think Truman, but given his injuries and stuff previously, I think he started really well for Wakefield. So important he gets a bit of flowers for his performances so far. But no, Bradford, absolutely. You know, it's rinse and repeat, isn't it? When we talk about these 3 promoted sides, we're all going to give them the superlatives of how they've started. The key for them all now is consistency. It's depth. It's when injuries do hit, because inevitably they will. How they manage that and cope with it. We've seen it now straight away with Bradford, with Blake. You know, rightly our player of the month. Lost him now for a week or so or whatever. This is the problem that teams will have as we go through the rest of the season. But I'm made up for Bradford. I think that, and not only on the pitch, off the pitch as well, to be getting the crowds that they've got back there, the improvements they've made towards Hull. I don't think it looks that bad on TV. Obviously, I've not visited there yet, but from a the majority of people will only see Bradford on TV, so I think it looks pretty decent what they've done there, and they've got a competitive side. And the biggest surprise for me, I think, with all 3 of the teams that have come up is the fitness levels, how well they've coped with it. And I know people will throw it back to me and say, well, everyone starts slow, and then they'll in the summer months they'll suffer. Well, I think it's probably harder to start the season. You know, they're going to improve as well. They're going to get used to the fitness levels. There's some of them lads who've never been in full-time environments before. They're going to improve because of that. So I think it's really encouraging how well and how quick the teams have been since they've started. And Bradford have been right up there at the top with that as well. So I'm sure Kurt Haggerty's very, very proud of his team at the moment, and also the fans as well.
And they're playing a very nice brand of rugby league, we've got to say that. Craig looking forward to the Odsal Good Friday game, and Carla rightly saying Jaden Nicarima still to come into that side as well. So, well done to
him and Milne. Him and Milne will be a really good combination.
I'm a big fan of Ron Milne, and I'm happy he's getting his game time. Joel Saints, I mean, look, 3 from 4, lost opening game of the season. They managed to drag. And look, I think we've got to give Paul Rowley's Saints a lot of credit, because, again, they have been hit with big injuries to big players, and they managed to scrape and fight the way to 3 wins from 4. Now, it could be that they lose a few games, but I think what Paul has already discovered is that the fighting spirit of his team is there, that attitude is there, and that's got to bode well. I thought Noah Stevens at the weekend as well. Great to see Noah on the field again, and he had a great, all right, couple of defensive frailties, but good to see him. You can tell that lad's going to be a player. Good to see George Whitby as well. And again, going back to what we were saying about Jack Fireman, Joel, the likes of Stevens, the likes of George Whitby now, these lads are going to probably be getting games, which is I'm quite excited about. Yes, it's a shame that we're losing some of the bigger names of the sport, but opportunity knocks for these kids. And Paul's got to be delighted with how his team is coping in adversity.
That's right, and it's the times like this where the likes that the George Whitbys, the Noah Stevens, Owen Dagnalls, all these players become them big names. You know, and it's unfortunate, but that's how sport works. That you've got to wait for someone's downfall for you to have your opportunity. And you go back to the word expectation, Dave, that you mentioned earlier. We all had an expectation of Paul Rowley, and he's delivered in every single aspect of anything that we could possibly imagine with Paul. He is a great coach, and Saints have hit a gold mine with him. And the fact that he's not scared in any way, shape, or form to put them young lads out, and he knows they're going to put a performance in because he believes in them. You know, you see how I was particularly watching George Whitby at the weekend, and I thought, he's great. He's running around the park like he's been doing this for years. And he's such a young lad. And you think, man, this guy is going to be a superstar one day because you just see that the raw talent that some of these lads have got. And that's only just going to get better over time. You know, I'm even going to put George Flanagan in there. You know, we've got a dreadful team. And the fact that he's now out with injury, people are saying in the fans forum it's season over because he's our really only hope. And that's awful to say that. But then these young players, when they get these opportunities, these are the people that then become them big names. And we're seeing that Saints have got that lovely conveyor belt of experience but youth. And this youth are now getting that experience through adversity.
Absolutely. Roll Stag in the chat. Delighted for Noah Stevens. Yeah, well done to Saints. I mean, I think would we be surprised if Saints were 3 or 4 places lower with the adversity they faced early doors? Probably not, but credit to them. And that suggests that when the troops start to come back, Paul's doing a decent job there. We'll keep a close eye on that. Reggie Warrington. I mean, look, beat Wakefield. They didn't beat them last year. They've got to win there. They've carried on the run against Saints. I mean, there will be scalps. KR, case in point, there will be scalps taken by York on home turf. What I would say about Warrington, though, Greg, is this: is the fact that I think, as a Warrington fan, there was a massive difference between 24 and 25. A massive difference. They've only played 3 games as opposed to the 4. They've scored 15 tries already this season, which is great. But here's the one for you: they have made the least errors in Super League. They've made 18. The lowest after them is 33 errors, KR and Lee. Now, that for me is very, very interesting indeed, because in Sam Burgess' first season in 24, it was about defence. They made the least amount of missed tackles in Super League with 79. Yes, they've only played 3 games. I get that. But these defensive areas, albeit York was not case in point, it was a try-fest, but very, very entertaining. It would appear they've done a lot of work in defensive areas. They've still work to do. They're looking better with quicker rucks with Danny Walker back. Danny Walker was a massive loss. I'm genuinely surprised in how well the first 3 games have gone. Your thoughts, mate? Warrington sitting
same as you. Genuinely surprised. I mean, we always beat Saints. That's a 2 points. Morning, Volstag. But you know, I think we had a very, very tough opening. Saints at home, Hull KR away, and then Wakefield at home. Wakefield have beaten us the last 3 outings. Wakefield have done us, so it was a tough opening. We got a bit of a break with Hull KR. We didn't play Hull KR because they were playing the World Club Championship. The Saints' performance first half was faultless, as far as I'm concerned, and then the struggle. That you know, Saints were always going to come back into that game. You've got to recognise that, as well as the team is playing, no matter who it is, the team they're playing against will have opportunities in a game. The Wakefield game was a potential banana skin because of the way we've played against Wakefield the last couple of times. We acquitted ourselves really well, but again, let them back in the game. And we've let them back. We let York back in the game big time on Friday night. So I'm not getting out the bunting yet, and I'm not booking my seat at Old Trafford just yet. But do you know what? For so far in this season, I'm really happy with what I've seen. And as you say, it looks like they have worked on what let them down last season. Injuries have played a part. They've got some key players back. they've lost some players who may well have not bought into the Sam Burgess scheme of things. But for me, the big difference is Steve McNamara. And that's this big difference for me. Bringing Steve McNamara in, for me, has brought another element of coaching in. And you're actually watching now, I would think more of a Steve McNamara side than a Sam Burgess side. When you saw how Catalan played under McNamara, it's very similar. He brought in some big forwards that they bring off the bench. Tanguy Noah, Sipley's been a revelation. Hopewati, despite the fears of Warrington fans that his knees were a bit suspect, has been superb. And Smith, bringing Josh Smith in, maybe Matty Ashton will be back, but Josh Smith for me has had 3 really, really good games for Warrington, and has been steady away. Kai Taylor-Ray, sometimes a bit dodgy at the back, but has been a revelation in attack, has brought pace. But like you say, I think it's all down to the fact we've got a fit and a raring to go on a point to prove Danny Walker in the middle of the park. I think that is the major difference.
I disagree with the point to prove, but he's back.
Who's that?
He's what I was
No,
saying.
as far as England are concerned.
Oh no, but yeah. I think his injury went against him last year, but on this form, him and Jez Litton are shoo-ins for that World Cup squad. If not, there'll be uproar across the league because they're head and shoulders the 2 best number 9s in the comp from an English perspective.
Yeah. That was what I meant by a point to prove, mate.
Absolutely,
he should have been in the. Maybe the injury kind of changed Wayne's mind, but he still should have been there or thereabouts, and he will be there or thereabouts, I think.
Class player. Right, let's move on in the interest of time. Steph leads, sitting second, 3 wins from 4. Of course, incredible win against KR. That was the statement win, of course. A very professional job done at the weekend. Sevo. Wow. I mean, welcome to Super League, Maker Sevo. 140 points scored, 50 against, plus 90 for them. They're looking good. Are the Rhinos?
They are, and obviously didn't have Brodie Croft at the weekend either, who I thought made a phenomenal start to the season. He's been, for me, Leeds' his best player. They're a fantastic team, and the one they lost obviously was that was the opening round one to Lee, and I know Alex member very, very happy with that performance when they lost the league, given the injuries that they had at that time. People forget that they had, I think, 8 or 9, maybe even more players out for that game, so they could very well be 4 from 4 if they were fully fit for that one. No, they're looking consistent, I'd say, now under Brad Arthur. You can tell it's a team that's bought into his ethics and the way he wants them to play. Obviously, the Vegas win was phenomenal, wasn't it? And put York to the sword. We've already talked about how well York have been playing, so that's not a result that should be underestimated. I think they missed Croft against Castleford. I think if Croft's playing, they probably put 40 on Castleford. Cats were much improved in that game, but you could tell they didn't look as in sync when Croft wasn't there. But yeah, I'm sure the Leeds fans are delighted with the start that they've made. Like I say, if it was their full strength side, I'm pretty convinced they would be 4 from 4 now.
Well, Nigel Bennett has gone to the bar for a second time and got a coffee for Joel. I don't know where. I think Alex has got lost. I think Alex is lost. But anyway, there you go. I think Simo, he's trying to just get the moths out at the moment. But anyway, that's by the by. Joel, we'll finish off this whistle-stop talk because we've still got to quickly do the predictions for the Challenge Cup. Wigan, 4 from 4, but now injuries are biting the Warriors. They might be happy that they're on 8 points, the Warriors, at this moment in time, because you do feel that perhaps, just perhaps, choppy waters might be ahead. No Bevan French, brilliant deputy in Farriman, don't get me wrong. No field for at least another 3 or 4 weeks you're expecting. No Wardle as well. Arguably 3 of their biggest strike players that they're missing at this moment in time. All eyes on Wigan now, in the same way that I said about Saints, that they've really done well in adversity. Wigan themselves now are going to be tested over the next few weeks.
Most definitely. And I remember before the season started, I said that Wigan's 1 to 17 is fantastic, but beyond that, I'm a bit concerned for them, and that will be tested for sure. I know they're kind of probably still within the 17 there, with the injuries are going out, but if they start to get any more, I am very concerned for Wigan because up until now they've been playing some great rugby. We don't expect anything less from them. However, we're going to see how good their depth is, and if it's better than I think it is. But then again, what do I know? Castleford are far better than Bradford, aren't they? So I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because Bevan French isn't going to be at Wigan forever. Jai Field's not going to be at Wigan forever. Who have they got coming in the pipeline? So people like your Farriman's coming through. Great season last season, and I'm hoping that this year, when he gets his opportunity, he's going to crack on and really showcase his abilities. But it is also nice that Matt Pete has the trust in the young boys. You look at Lucas Mason, Keith Mason's son, that's now in the first team. It'll be great to see him playing some rugby. Can he follow in the footsteps of his dad? Can he be better? Who knows? But he's got to play to get there. So yeah, very interested to see how we're going to go on. But I think the ethos that they've got within that squad and that whole culture is just wonderful at Wigan, and they're never going to be that far off.
No, well, they've got York next in Super League. That's going to be an interesting game. Then it's the Giants. Then they go to Saints on Good Friday. Wonderful stuff. And then it's Castleford at home before going to the Wire. So, like I say, whilst these next few weeks, I would expect probably French will be back for the Wire game. Not French Field will be back for the Wire game. But yeah, some tricky fixtures there. Some really, really tricky fixtures. And Craig Forsyth Hodgkinson to full back. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of these younger players might get a look in, and that's going to be very interesting to see. All in all, though, at the moment, there's our whistle-stop tour. Lots to be happy about for the promoted clubs. A couple of underperformers in there. Some wonderful players. And just going back to Leeds, I think the likes of Cooper Jenkins and players like that who have really stepped up this year have been a real positive for Leeds as well. It's going to be fascinating indeed to see what happens as it goes on. Right, we've literally, this is far longer show than I thought it was going to be, but it's been a great chat, and that's what it's all about. Great rugby league chat on a Thursday, folks. We hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Right, whistle stop tour. What a game on BBC. On BBC, I can't believe I'm saying that. BBC iPlayer, do me a favour. Wakey Trinity taking on Leeds Rhinos at the DIY at 8 p.m. this Friday. What a way to kick off round 4 of the Betfred Challenge Cup. We're going to have to be quick here, boys. It really is a whistle-stop tour, so let's keep it brief. Wakey, you've got a great record against Leeds. Can they do it, Steph? Yes, no, and by what score?
Well, I back Wakey to win the Challenge Cup this year, so I'm going to go Wakefield by 4.
Wow.
Smoothie should be back for this one, shouldn't he, Tyson? Should be back for this one. That'd be interesting. That'd be good. Yeah, O'Connor against Smoothie. That's a nice little narrative, isn't it? Joel, your thoughts? Wakey Leeds?
No, Leeds by 16.
Comfortable win for the Rhinos. Reggie?
Leeds by 10.
I want it to be no more than 8 either way, if I'm honest. You've got to go. The smart money's on Leeds in the form that they're in, isn't it? I'll go Leeds by 8. But it could be a belter. That. Really looking forward to it. Right. Wigan Warriors at home with a lot of injuries against the very resilient Bradford Bulls. Could this be a shock, Mr. Sale?
No, Wigan by 20.
Ooh, that's a biggie. It's a biggie, Joel.
I see why Steph's going there. Yeah, Wigan, I think, have got too much for them still. I don't think the injuries count for much when it comes to Bradford. Though not as much. I'll see Wigan by 10.
Reggie,
this could very well be the shock of the round. Wigan by 16.
I'm going to keep it 12. I'm going to go Wigan by 12. I think Bradford just don't know the beat. They just don't know the beat. That's going to be interesting. Right, Saturday, 12 o'clock kickoff. York Knights, Keighley Cougars. Will we expect York to get into the quarterfinals, Mr. Sam?
York by 60.
60. Joel?
I'm kind of with Steph. I was going to say York by 50.
50. Reggie?
In the interest of making it interesting, York by 40.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm more there. I'm around I was going to say around the 40 mark to York, but that'd be interesting. Ghoul Vikings taking on the Warrington Wolves at HJ Stadium, 2:00 kickoff. Mr. Sale?
Warrington by 68.
Joel?
Sorry, I missed that. Which teams again?
Ghoul against Wire.
Oh, that's going to be a pasting by 80.
Reggie?
Girl back. I reckon Warrington could hit 3 figures. So, but I'm not going to go that far. Warrington by a good 80 points. Could be 100.
I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it so in the 50s. I'm going to say I think Warrington might make a few changes here. I think the likes of you. I'm really hoping that Sam Burgess puts Ewan Smith in. I think he deserves a shot at second row. I believe me, folks. If you haven't seen Ewan Smith, this lad's going to be a big player. He really, really is. So I'd like to see the likes of Ewan Smith get a game. And because of the movement around the players and the combinations in this, that, it might not be as big a score as perhaps Steph has said. But hey, could be wrong. Huddersfield Giants taking on Hull KR, Steph.
Do I have to? Sorry.
Higher or lower margin than this week?
It'll be more. It's going to be KR by 46.
Joel?
Steph, you're being so nice. It'll be nice if we field a team. I'm going KR by 585,000 and Huddersfield by minus 44.
44 win. Reggie?
How do you follow that? KR by, I think Huddersfield will put a fight up. KR 36 by 36.
Yeah, I'm going to go 40 plus for KR. Right, the battle of the squads that have been hammered by injury. Which one copes better? Lee Leopards, FC, Mr. Sale.
I've got to back Lee by 1.
Joel?
I think Lee have got this. Lee have got too much quality within the whole squad, I think, and I've been backing Lee for a good
Joel.
I know, but you just there's something about Lee that are too dangerous. I think you've got it, but I really do.
What score are you giving?
Oh, not by many. 4 by 4.
You've got it, but not by many.
No, because the thing is, when you've got injuries like that, anything could happen, couldn't it?
Absolutely, it could.
But I just don't see it being a big scoreline. But I think Lee have got it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Do you know what? Hull went to Wigan last year with a few injuries, and nobody expected him to pull it off.
Barron's a lot, but Barron's a loss as well, isn't he?
Yes, and you know what? This for me, I just think, but Wigan's home advantage should have got them home last season, and I just get the feeling. I'm sorry, Steph. I just get the feeling Hull by 6.
Wow, I think home field advantage is massive in this. I think the crowd is massive.
There's a shock. There's a shock somewhere.
Yeah. But maybe
it would be a shock if FC beat Lee.
Well,
I think. Well,
it would be.
Yeah, slightly. Would it be an upset? Slightly, based on Lee being at home. But I just think that's the difference. I think the fact that Lee are at home, it's going to be a partisan crowd. They'll get behind the team.
Steph's staring at me now. I'm getting the death stare.
He's not happy, Steph, is he? But no, I sort of see where he's coming from. Home advantage, both. It's close. But I think Lee's home. I think the fact that Lee at home, they'll get the job done. I'm going to go by 10. Catalan Dragons Oldham, I think we'll just all leave that where it is. If Catalan lose that, then Joel Tompkins is sacked. We'll just leave that there because he deserves to be sacked because there's no way on this earth the plight of since Oldham went through the plight of Oldham, albeit they're starting to get the groove back together last week. But yeah, this should be a cakewalk. I mean, they should be winning this by over 50 points, and we'll just leave that there. Then we go to Castleford Tigers against St Helens to bring this to a close. Is this where the shock? I don't know. I mean, they've had more injuries this week to key players. I'd expect Percival returns in this one, maybe. Your thoughts on this one, Steph?
Saints by 28.
Comfortable win away. Joel?
I'm going to be slightly nice to Cass. I'm going to go Saints by 14.
Yeah. Reggie?
I'm going Saints by 16 because they've got to play Warrington in the quarter-final as usual.
Well, I went Saints for the Cup, so I've got to back Saints. I think Saints get the job done. I think Casford need a good start. I think Casford need to get on the score sheet first. I do believe that.
Pitch might help them. Pitch might help them.
Pitch might help them, yeah. They're just decimated, though, aren't they? They're just decimated, and more so than Saints. And of course, you've got to consider that the roster of Saints has got a deeper quality than Cass, so you'd expect that this should be a win. And then finally, to bring the show to an end, Craig Forth, when we were talking league, said, "What odds? What do we think about Warrington winning the Challenge Cup? Can Warrington win the Challenge Cup?" Steph, Craig asked that question.
I think they're better than they were last year, and they were within 2 minutes of winning it last season. So yes, of course they can. More than capable of, especially given the way they've started. My only concern, I didn't get to speak on Warrington earlier, but my only concern with Warrington is letting sides back into it. That's they've started really well, but to be really nitpicky, that they've not been ruthless. And to win the Challenge Cup, you've got to be ruthless. But based on getting there last season with a team that's not as good as they've got this season, absolutely they can win it.
Joel, yes or no will do?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great yes or no, that. Absolutely. Well done. Reggie?
Why not?
Why not? What I would say, do you know what? If we're doing it on current form and injuries, I think there'd be a few people putting a punt on Leeds all of a sudden for this one. I really do. But hey, there's a long way to go. What a show. Outstanding show. We hope you've enjoyed that. Of course, we're all going to the Challenge Cup in Club Wembley. Members, the tickets for that are on the website. Of course, a great price for that this year. As many of you as possible hopefully can join us for that. And next week, we will launch the 2026 Club Wembley competition. Your opportunity to join us at Club Wembley. That will get launched next week. All details will be provided. Myself and Craig Lingard, we're back tomorrow, 7 p.m. For Championship Rugby League with Craig Lingard, talking all things in the Championship the week gone by. Craig, of course, getting his another win in the bank, doing very well at the Sheffield Eagles, and we'll also be talking about Keighley and Oldham's chances in the Challenge Cup. And of course, captain's run, no captain's run this week because, of course, it's Challenge Cup. We're having a week off, but we will be back with the captain's run Thursday the 19th of March, 6 p.m. on Spotify, Apple, and of course YouTube if you'd like to watch. On behalf of all of us, we hope you've enjoyed the show. We will be back next week for more Super League Raw Weekly. You can't beat a bit of weekly. Enjoy your week, folks, and we will see you all next week. Bye for now.